Let's do it, man. Shabbat Shalom. Good afternoon. I don't know why I'm here. Personally, so there we go. Shabbat Shalom again, everyone. Welcome to friends and welcome, of course, to family. We're so thrilled to be able to celebrate this Sabbath with all of you for one particular reason. Let's check and see. I think I'm coming in and out. All right, so when I do the responsive reading, though, do I need to be up here to do that? Yeah. I'll have to stand up here? Okay, I'll just do that. Sorry, guys, technical issues. That's why we'll get it done at the beginning. Give me 1 second. In case you were wondering, Jason had the same problem at the Eagles concert last week with the responsive reading that Glenn Fry was doing. So that's an issue that all of us major musical stars, myself, the Eagles, Jeff. So welcome again, everyone. How's that? Shabbat Shalom. It's important that everyone hears through the mic because they want to hear, of course, Max, but because many of the family and friends we know cannot be here in person. We're here not only to celebrate the Sabbath, but because, of course, Max is becoming a bar mitzvah today, just had his birthday, just turned 13, and we are so thrilled to be able to bring him into the adult world of Judaism. So again, welcome to everyone, and before we actually begin our service, I'm going to invite up Jeff and Sarah as they're going to give Max his talis, his prayer shawl, which is traditionally given to a bar or bar mitzvah at this time.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu, v'mitzvotah, v'tzivanu, litatef, hatzitzit.
Okay, kiss both ends. We're going to begin our service on page 129 in our prayer book, as I'm going to invite everyone to please rise.
שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב. שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב עיניים. שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב עיניים. Please be seated. Synagogue is the sanctuary of Israel, born of our longing to feel God's nearness. It has been to the Jewish people throughout our wanderings a visible token of the presence of God in our people's midst. Its beauty is the beauty of holiness, steadfast, and has stood as a champion of justice, mercy, and peace.
The italicized portion we read together. Its truths are true for all people. Its love is a love for all people. Its God is the God of all people. As it has been said, my house shall be a house of prayer for all people. Let all the family of Israel, all who hunger for righteousness, all who seek the eternal, find God here, and here find life.
Please turn to page 131. These are the obligations without measure.
To honor father and mother, to perform acts of love and kindness, to enrich our knowledge every day, to welcome the stranger, to visit the sick, to rejoice with loving partners and good friends, to console the bereaved, to pray with sincerity, to make peace where there is strife, and the study of Torah leads to them all, because it leads to them all.
On page 133, please rise. God created the universe. We are grateful for this new day, for morning sun and evening star, flowering trees and flowing tides, for rising rains and cooling breezes, for the earth's constant turning and the changing seasons, the cycle of growth and decay, of life and death, how miraculously your works and wisdom. You have made them all. The heavens declare your glory, and the earth reveals your creative power. You form light and darkness, ordain good out of evil, bring harmony into nature and peace to the human heart.
We're going to pause before we read, as we're going to take 1 second, as we're going to take, it seems like both mics are having issues. They were both tested, so I'm going to take them off. Take that. Apologize about the delay, but we'll make sure to get this fixed now before it's too late. All right, so we'll continue on page 135 together. Great has been your love and your compassion boundless. Our ancestors put a trust in you as they learned the laws of life. Be gracious to us that we may understand and fulfill the teachings of your word. Enlighten our eyes through the Torah that we may live by your commandments. Unite our hearts in love and reverence. We trust in you and rejoice in your guiding power, for from you comes our help. You have called us and drawn us near to you to serve you in faithfulness. Joyfully we lift up our voices and proclaim unity. We praise you for in love you have called upon our people Israel to serve you.
The Shema is found on page 137. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivot Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Va'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'kol avacha v'kol nafshecha v'kol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher Nachi Mitzavacha Hayom Alavavecha Vishnantam Lavinecha Vitiba Tabam Bashiftecha Bevitecha Uvliftecha Vadere Ushofecha Ufmecha Ukshatam Lot Ayadecha V'chayilu Totafot Ben Einecha Uktavtam Al Mizuzot Beitecha Uvi Sharecha Laman Tizkaru V'asitem Et Kol Mitzvotai V'yahim Kedoshim Leilochem Ani Adonai Elohim Asher Hotzitai Ethem Me'etzvayim L'chayot Lechem Le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohim.
Together at the bottom, you shall love the eternal God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And these words which I command you this day shall be upon your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be a symbol before your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, that you may remember and do all my commandments and be holy to your God. The Eternal One led you out of Egypt to be your God. The Eternal One alone is your God.
All this we hold to be true and sure. The Eternal One alone is our God, and there is none else.
Through God's power alone has our people Israel been redeemed from the hand of oppressors.
Great deeds God has wrought on our behalf, and wonders without number.
The Eternal One has kept us in life and has not let our people's footsteps falter.
God was with us during the long years of oppression. Our faith sustained us, even when our people suffered the deepest anguish.
And now that we live in this land of freedom, may we continue to be faithful to God and the teachings of Torah.
May the Eternal One's way guide the lives of all people and unite our hearts in peace.
O God, our refuge and our hope, we sing your praise as did our people in ancient days.
Mi chamocha be'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nara tehilot asefele. The Amidah sound on page 142. Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Eloheinu Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah v'Elohei Ra'el Ha'el Hagadol v'Hagibor v'Hanara El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim V'konei hakol v'otzeh chatzadi avot v'imaho u'mevi gula l'vnei l'nehem v'mat shabam v'ahavha v'lo otzeh u'mashiach u'magim Baruch atah Adonai v'kei Avraham mitzvat Sarah atah gibor le'olam Adonai mechayeh hakol atah rav l'shia Mechayeh Chaim bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol b'rachamim, Somer noflim v'rofeh cholim, U'matir asurim, U'makayed en u'mato, Le'neshia yeshifa, Mihamo habal gevurot, Umidom elah, Me'le mimet u'mechayeh, U'matmi u'mishuna, V'ne'eman al chayot ha'kol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh ha'kol. Amen. We now return to the top of page 142 and read together. We praise you, God, God of our mothers and fathers, God of Abraham, God of Sarah, God of all generations. You bestow loving kindness on us all, your people. You remember the devotion of those who came before us. As you guide our ancestors with love, you offer hope to us, their descendants. You are creator and helper, our guide and protector. We praise you, eternal God, shield of Abraham and help of Sarah.
Together, infinite is your power, O God, great is your gift of life. In loving kindness you sustain the world. Through the endless flow of your blessings you preserve all of creation. You uphold the falling and heal the sick, free the captive and keep faith with your people in death as in life. Who is like you, author of life and death? We praise you, God, the source of eternal life.
Be seated and please turn to page 146.
Together, our God and God of all ages, grant that our worship on the Shabbat may be acceptable to you. Sanctify us through your commandments, that the serenity of Shabbat may enter our lives. Teach us to be satisfied with the gifts of your goodness and grateful to rejoice in all that you bestow. Purify our hearts that we may serve you in truth. Inspire us to preserve Shabbat as our heritage. May it ever bring rest and joy, peace and comfort to our homes. We praise you, God, who sanctifies the Sabbath.
Page 147. Look with favor upon us, and may our service be acceptable to you. We praise you, whom alone we serve in reverence. On this Shabbat day, as you receive our prayers, help us more to clearly hear your call. Grant us health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may be more aware of our own faults,
and grant us the wisdom to be more forgiving of others.
Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves,
and the kindness of heart to see the best in those around us.
Give us patience enough to not be discouraged, hope enough to overcome our fears, and the vision to be aware of your presence. O source of all blessings, look with favor upon us as our service may be acceptable to you. We praise you, whom alone we serve in reverence.
We gratefully acknowledge that the eternal God is our creator and preserver, the rock of our life and the shield of our help. We thank God and sing praises for the gift of life itself, for our souls that are ever in God's keeping, for the signs of our Creator's presence that we encounter every day, and for God's wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. Truly our blessings are without end, and God's loving kindness never ceases. Therefore do we forever put our trust in the Eternal One.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace. and enable our people Israel to be its messenger to all the world. Bless our country, that it may ever be a pursuer of peace, and its advocate in the Council of Nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of our friendship and harmony among the inhabitants of all lands. Plant virtue in every soul, and may our love for you hollow every home and every heart. We praise you, God, O God, giver of peace. Amen. We turn to page 157 for the Misha Berach, our prayer for healing. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits. It allows God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a broken city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will.
We pray for all people who at this hour are in sickness and want or in distress of body or spirit. We name in our hearts those who are near to us and whose pain we feel pain. Let them know your help and feel your presence, realizing they are not alone.
As I look around the sanctuary, I invite you to mention the name of someone in need of healing. Together we sing a Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avotenu Akor HaBracha Imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Makor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with the Refuah Shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Let's take a moment of silent prayer.
Oh, say shalom bimramav, say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Say shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, say shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Say shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Say shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom again, everyone, and welcome to everyone coming out of town. Welcome to friends, welcome to family, welcome to everyone watching online. We're so excited to be here, and I don't know if you had a chance to see the program with that beautiful picture of Max with his Captain America shirt on. When I was growing up, your superheroes had masks and they masked their identity, but nowadays we all know who Iron Man and Spider-Man is. It's been revealed to us, and so I noticed when Max was up here, he's ready to be a super already because he wore his tallis like a cape. You know, his hand's supposed to be inside, he had hands ready to flow, so I don't know if you're a combination of Captain America and Superman, but they're different genres, so you'll have to figure out which one you want to be, because Captain America does not wear a cape. But maybe when you take over, it will. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take out our Torah scroll. For those of you who don't know, this is the most important part of becoming a bar mitzvah during the service, where you read from the Holy Scroll. For those of you who don't know, it's the 5 books of Moses, the first 5 books of the Bible, both the Protestant and the Jewish, but also the Catholic Bible. But it's in a special form of Hebrew, which is a little bit more difficult because it's an older Hebrew, going back several thousand years, and so you have to practice and practice to prepare for it. So he's going to read from that. He's also going to read from another piece of the Bible, and he's going to give a speech based upon this week's Torah portion, what he's reading. So he's got a lot going on. He's doing a beautiful job, and we are so thrilled. So I'm going to invite Max to come back up. And with him, we're going to invite up family and friends who are going to participate in the Torah service with him. So I'm going to invite up Sarah, his sister, and Blanche Koegler, his grandmother, as they will be opening the ark. I'm going to also invite up Steve and Jeff and Stacy, who will participate in the passing of the Torah scroll. Invite everyone to turn to page 152, and please rise. It shall come to pass in the end of days that the mountain of God's house shall be exalted above the hills, and all the nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come and let us go up to the mountain of the Eternal, to the house of the God of Jacob, that we may be taught the way, and that we may walk in God's path. For out of Zion shall go forth the Torah and the word of the Eternal One from Jerusalem. Please be seated. None of these people are geometry whizzes, as you can tell, but we're thrilled. And Jeff, could you increase this mic a little bit? I think this one's a lot less loud, and that's why we're having... All right. Sorry for the technical issues. We want to make sure you can hear Max. What I have in my hands is what we call the Torah scroll. As I mentioned earlier, it is the 5 books of Moses, the 5 holiest books in our religion. It is the beginnings of the first monotheistic religion, the first monotheistic nation in history. But more importantly, what we as Jews believe is in this wonderful scroll, or everything that is essential for us as Jews. In it you find everything that is needed to be a good human being. The ethical, binding belief system of an ethical God. And we speak often about passing the Torah down from Moses to the prophets, to the sages, to the tribal elders, which is beautiful, and those are wonderful words. But what we know is most important is that we must pass this down from one generation to the next in the family, because it is the family that determines how we are raised and what type of human beings we become. So right now here in front of friends and family, we are going to pass down this Torah scroll from one generation to the next, 3 generations in this wonderful family. at the top of page 153. O house of Jacob, come and let us walk by the light of the eternal God as we sing together Shema. Now it's a pleasure to call up Eli and Sydney, Eli Burwitz and Sydney Linfoot, who both have had their bar and bat mitzvah recently, as they will undress the Torah scroll, as I invite family up here to help as we continue with Lecha Adonai. Please be seated. You guys can take a seat. Who's first on up here? Let's see here. Steve. Yeah, Steve, stay up here. So Steve, come over here. Yeah. Max, I'm going to stand next to your grandfather real quick. We read a portion of the Torah each week. You have a large book that's our Plout commentary that'll have the portion we're reading. We're reading from the last portion of the book of Exodus. It's called Pikudei, and we're going to be reading Exodus chapter 40, verses 1 through 10. If you'd like to follow along, you can find it in the Plout on page 633. It's a pleasure now to invite up our first Aliyah, as we always invite somebody up to say a prayer before and after we read from the Torah portion. Steve, do you know your Hebrew name?
Shmuel.
Ya'amod Shmuel Aliyah LeTorah.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach.
Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, Bayom haHodesh Harishon Behar Lahodesh Takim Et Mishkan Ohel Moed Basam Ta Sham Et Aaron ha'edut v'sakrota al ha'aron et ha'parochet v'heveta et ha'shochan v'arachta et erkol v'heveta et ha-menorah v'achaleta et neroteha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam notah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. So now you get the grandfather hug, right now. That's where you hug him. Yeah, I know, he was looking like he was going to hug me, but no, this is your grandson. And then you're going to come over to this side over here. And usually we'd stay up here because of COVID, we're going to have you sit down. Mazel tov, beautifully done. Give him a yasher koch, means congratulations for doing a beautiful job. Nothing, I imagine, like saying an aliyah for your grandson's bar mitzvah. What a privilege. For our second aliyah, we have the great privilege of calling up Jeff, as he will have that honor. And Jeff, what is your Hebrew name? Remember? Jacob. Yep. Yaakov ben Yaakov aliyah l'Torah.
Baruch Hu Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Habarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'nata lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Amen.
V'natata et mizbach hazahav liktoret lifnei Aron ha'idut v'samta et masach ha'petach Lamishkan Vanatata et Mizbach ha'olah Lifnei Petach Mishkan Ohel Moed Vanatata et hakior ben ohel moed uven hamizbeach vanatata sham mayim vasamta et hechatzer saviv Vanatata et masach sha'ar hechatzer.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natalanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nota b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Now for the dad hug or high five. Do you have Hebrew names? What's his Hebrew name? Mikhail? Sure. Okay. Sounds good. All right. That's what I thought it was. For our last aliyah, we are calling up the bar mitzvah, Max. Yamod, 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 Mikael ben Yaakov aliyah l'Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarah le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'nata lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. V'lakachta et shemen hamishcha u'mashachta et hamishkan v'kol asher bo v'kidashta oto v'kol kelav v'haya kodesh umashachta et masach et mizbach ha'olah v'kol kelav v'kidashta et hamizbeah v'haya hamizbeah kodesh kadashim.
Yasher koach. Beautifully done.
This. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Man, you can take a seat now for a moment. Beautifully done, Max. That was as beautifully and nice and slow to make sure every word had meaning. I actually read that exact same portion earlier today. Not nearly as good as a 13-year-old, I may add, but I still did. So what we're going to do now is to make sure everyone understands the Torah portion. We're going to invite up Andrea Koegler, who is going to read the Torah portion in English.
All right. Hello. And the Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month, you shall set up a tabernacle, okay, of the tent of meeting. Place the ark of the pact and screen off the ark with the curtain. Bring in the table and lay out its due setting. Bring in the lampstand and a light in its lamps. And the place of the gold altar of incense before the ark of the pact. Then put up the screen for the entrance of the tabernacle. You shall place the altar of the burnt offerings before the entrance of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. Place the lever between the tent of the meeting and the altar, and put water in it. Set up the enclosure round about, and in its place the screen for the gate of the enclosure. You shall take the anointing oil and in the tabernacle, and in it that all should be consecrate it, and all its furnishings, so it shall be holy. And then I don't know this word. Anoint the oil of his burning offering and all its utensils to consecrate the altar. So the altar shall be the most holy.
Max mentioned to me he wanted to give the most difficult reading of all time to his favorite relative, and so I hope he takes some consolation in that. I'm going to now invite up Eli and Sydney again, as they're going to come help me dress the Torah, as we're going to set aside the Torah scroll. I'm going to invite everyone to please rise. These are the words passed down by the prophets of Israel to the people of Israel.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על
Please be seated.
שלושה.
Thank you, Eli, and thank you, Sydney, for doing that beautifully. We're now going to read what we call the Haftorah, the additional. It has nothing to do with the word Torah. That's just coincidental. This is an additional piece we read from the rest of the Bible. And today we're going to be reading from the book of 1 Kings. You can find it on page 638 in your plowed commentary. We're going to read 1 Kings chapter 8, verses 10 through 14. It's a pleasure to invite Max back up as he's going to chant the prayers before and afterwards. And I'm going to invite up Matt McKinney, who is going to have the pleasure of translating it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratzav devrehem hane'emarim ba'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Aboher Batorah u'Moshe Avdo v'Yisrael Amo u'Benvi'ei ha'emet v'Sedek. V'hi b'seit ha'kohanim min ha'kodesh v'he'anan malei et beit Adonai v'lo yachalu ha'kohanim la'amod l'sharet mi panei he'anan ki malei kivod Adonai et beit Adonai. Az amar shalomo Adonai amar lishkon ba'arafel bano baniti beit zevul lach machon l'esharet olamim vayasev he'anan et panav vayvoreh et kol kechol Yisrael, v'chol kechol Yisrael omed. Baruch atah Adonai. Oh yeah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol ha'amim tzadik b'kol hadarot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'maher v'oseh ha'mdaber u'mkayim אשר כל דברת אמת וצדק על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לעבוד ולתפארת על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו נודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בפיך הו חי תמיד לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
Take a seat, Max. Beautiful. Take a seat right there. Here. Let me come up here. We're having a little bit of feedback, Jason. It's getting a little loud. I'm going to move this down. That helps. Okay, perfect. Go
As soon as the priest filled out of the sanctuary, the cloud filled the house of the Eternal. For on account of the cloud, the priests were unable to stand and do their service. The glory of God filled the house of the Eternal. Then Solomon said, the Eternal said, I choose to dwell in the thick darkness. Now I have truly built for you a royal mansion, a place where you may dwell forever. With all Israel standing there, the king turned around and blessed them.
You can do a hug too. As I mentioned earlier, along with the leading of the service, the reading of Torah, the reading of Haftorah, we invite our students to lead us in a bit of Torah wisdom, and so we invite them to write a speech based upon the Torah, and Max has written an outstanding one.
In this week's Torah portion, Pikudei, we read about the tabernacle and how it housed the Ark of the Covenant. The tabernacle was the tent of meeting which the Jews carried with them throughout the desert. As we read, God spoke to Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month, you shall rise up to the tent of meeting and place the ark in it. The Torah also tells us that the menorah and the table were to be brought into the tabernacle as well. The lesson I learned from this Torah portion is the everlasting presence of God. It was a difficult idea to understand then, and is still a difficult idea today. Moses went up to Mount Sinai to receive the Ten Commandments and came down to see the people worshiping the golden calf. This represents people not being aware that God is everywhere at any given moment. At the side of this scene, Moses smashed the Ten Commandments because he did not understand the presence of God. After this display, Moses had to go back up Mount Sinai to retrieve 2 new tablets. The Ten Commandments were still stored in the Ark of the Covenant. However, these are not the original because the originals were destroyed. I believe in God's power. Therefore, I believe that we should follow God's commandments. By following God's commandments, we show that you believe in God's presence. We are supposed to tell the truth even when it's hard to tell the truth. One time in 4th grade, I received a 67 on my vocab test, and it was hard to tell my parents that I was given a 67. But in my defense, she did make the test pretty hard. Another commandment is to respect your parents and our neighbors. Even adults don't do this because other adults often treat other adults pretty badly, often for simple reasons like the color of their skin or their sexual preference. People can also show that they believe in God by behaving the way we should, because simply saying that we believe in God doesn't necessarily mean that we do. An example of this point is found in the story of Adam and Eve. They said that they believed in God, and then still ate the fruit from the tree, even though God told them not to. Anyone can say that they believe in God. By acting kindly and respectfully towards different people shows that we actually do believe in God. For my mitzvah project, I volunteered at Second Harvest to wrap packages of food for people who are in need. By volunteering this way, I show that I believe in God by doing work for other people. When I was 7, I was diagnosed with dysgraphia, and I was lucky enough to find a very helpful therapist, Sarah Shinester. Sorry if I said that wrong. So for my tzedakah project, I'm donating 2 bikes to my occupational therapist, and the remaining funds will go towards the Child Neurology Foundation. I would now like to thank some of the people who made this possible. First, I would like to thank Rabbi Haas for helping me, for working with me as I prepared for my bar mitzvah. I would also like to thank my tutor, Miss Penny, for helping me study for this moment. Thank you, Sarah, for being a good sibling. I would also like to thank my parents for always being there through my tough times and helping to remind me to study my Hebrew. Reminding me very thoroughly. The entire bar mitzvah process made me a little nervous. It did take a lot of time preparing for this day. At times I felt like I may have not been able to complete all my studies, but it's also been kind of amazing to learn about my history and heritage, and to see what I could do if I could just put in the time. It's also amazing to see all my families coming together in one place, which hasn't happened in a while because of COVID, I'm really thankful though that it's all over. Hopefully I get a full weekend now. Hopefully my parents can spend the time on getting my sister into college while I fade out into the background. Shabbat Shalom.
Beautifully done, Max. We're all so proud of you. So reserved. But second to grandparents, we know the parents are the most proud. So we're going to invite up Jeff and Stacy as they'd like to speak a few words to you.
There's 2 sheets of the same page.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Max, my dearest son, you have been preparing for this day for more than 4 years. You did it. To say we are proud is
It's okay.
an understatement. Watching your dedication grow throughout the process, well, we'll talk about that later. I want you to know that you haven't been alone. I've been preparing for this day since September 9th, 2014. We had spent the day goofy golfing, and afterwards we went to dinner at the Flying Fish. When our waitress asked for our drink order, you looked at her with all seriousness and said, "I'd like a Bloody Mary." The waitress laughed, and even the table next to us got a giggle. You quickly corrected yourself and said, "I mean a Shirley Temple." That same evening, I tucked you into bed, and you said, "Mom, I have a secret to tell you. You cannot tell anyone, or I will take all my clothes off in public." I've never told anyone that secret. You did. So that evening, I began my Maxisms journal. Because, Max, you always keep us laughing. A few mornings later, you insisted on getting dressed all by yourself, and you walked out of your room ready for school with all your clothes on backwards. Max, you are an original. I picked you up from school that afternoon in your backwards clothes. You proudly announced, "Mommy, I was good today. I didn't have to sit out of PE." I said, "Well, Max, that's fantastic." And then you responded with, "But I did have to sit out of music." So,
Oh, I didn't mind that.
you always keep us on our toes. Another favorite Maxism of mine is one day you came home from school, and one of the many things that you do, just like your father, I said, "Max, you sound just like your father," to which you replied, "Well, I did get 23 chromosomes from him." Max, you are smart. And the time you came home from school with a full lunchbox, and when I asked why you didn't eat your lunch, you told me you wanted to send it to someone who needed it more than you. Max, you are thoughtful. I don't have the date. My last Maxism I want to share. My favorite one of all time is the time you came home from school and you proclaimed you had no homework, so you should be able to play video games. I said, "Are you sure you have no homework?" And you responded, "I am absolutely suppository."
Oh, God.
Max, you are simply fantastic. I share these stories with our family today because it's a side of you that not everyone gets to see. I'm almost there. I admire that you can be reserved, but also quick-witted, kind-hearted, and friendly. And I hope that you always stay confident in yourself and in who you are. Max, you have worked so hard for this day. We are so incredibly proud of all you have accomplished. You are a wonderful son, a loving brother, and I am confident you will be a great man. And I am so happy to have a front row seat.
Kleenex right here.
Max needs it more than me.
No, you.
No, you first.
Well, while you guys fight over the tissue box. All right, here we go. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. We got more tissue boxes if you guys need them. Max, I want to say that you are the man. Literally now. I stand before you today as a father bursting with pride. I know that this was no easy task for you. The countless hours you have spent working towards this moment, the yelling, the crying, the disappointments, the beatings. Okay, there were no beatings. But all of these other moments are what becoming a bar mitzvah is all about. Within all of the perceived torture known as Sunday school and Hebrew tutoring is a lesson.
Not that bad.
Perseverance. You're becoming stronger. Leveling up. That's gamer speak. For those who don't know, let me put it in terms you may better understand. You know when you're playing one of your games and you just can't get to the next level without powering up? You have to do a bunch of mundane tasks over and over and over again to get to the next level. That is what this is like for you. But this is real life. Maybe, unless we are all living in a simulation. Anyway, you did it. Well, almost. You have almost completed one of the most challenging levels in your life so far. And you are a better person for it. It is probably hard to comprehend this right now, all of the nerves and shock of being up here and performing in front of everyone. I know it can be hard to see beyond that. But one day, maybe when your son or daughter is standing here before you, you will understand. Whoa, sound like an adult right now, don't I? Never in a million years did I expect to be here saying this right now when I was 13. But to be here now witnessing you do this, there are almost no words for me to describe it. Over the past week or so, I have been pulling together videos and pictures for this big day, and I realized that for a good part of your life, I was missing. I mean, I have an excuse. I was out doing dad stuff, working on the road, partying, as your mom likes to call it. It will always weigh heavy on me not having been there at some of your most important moments, but to see you standing here before me almost as tall as me, almost, back to back right now. Let's go. Not there yet. Anyway, to see it is awesome. I know you are just trying to concentrate on not passing out or vomiting, but you did it. And now you know something that I think you have known all along. You are stronger and braver than you know. You can rise to the occasion to do things you may never have thought possible. So now when you are faced with a challenge in the future and you are ready to just give up, think about this moment right now, and know that it is possible that you can do it. Realistically, you've been facing challenges and rising to the occasion your whole life. Like that one time I said you couldn't fit 12 grapes in your mouth. Or when I challenged you to get all your pee in the toilet. When you focus and really try, you can accomplish anything. There's one last thing I want to talk about, and it's failure. I have always told both of our kids that anything less than 100 is a failure in our household. And while it is partly a joke, because no one person beyond myself can be perfect, right, Stace? Yeah. It is more about giving 100% and not being afraid to fail. We all fail in our lives many times, except for me. But failure is okay. It is even more okay when you know you have given 100%. As someone very wise once told your sister, who then told me, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Do you know who said that? Mr. Bennett. So I implore you, as you continue along your life journey, to keep taking shots no matter how many times you miss. You might just make a few, and then you too will get to stand up here telling a much younger copy of yourself that I am proud of you, I can't wait to see what you do next, and more than anything, I love you. Did it, man.
So now what I'm going to do is, before you and Stacy stand next to each other, facing me, take a step back, perfect. And Max, I want you to get in front of them with your back to them. Turn around, and I want both of you to place your hands on his shoulder. In Judaism, there's a prayer called the priestly benediction. It is the oldest prayer probably in continuous use in human history, as we've been using it for 3,000 years for celebrations. It is very famous, coming in so many traditions. May the Lord bless and defend you as a very famous version of it coming from the Bible. And now your parents are going to give it to you as their hands are on you on this, one of the most important moments for their lives as they celebrate with you. Yivrechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. May the source of God's blessings be upon you. Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God grant you the greatest gift of all, the gift of peace, happiness for your entire life, for your family today and your family tomorrow, as we all say, Amen. And now you guys do one more hug. Such beautiful speeches. Slightly inappropriate, but beautiful. So Max, I'm going to invite you to come over here. So why don't you stand over there as well. Okay, step back. Perfect. So on behalf of our congregation, I want to say how proud we are of you. For those of you who I think everybody here knows Max, knows what an incredible person he is. So much fun, always such a nice person, so dedicated, really stressed his, what we call mitzvah project, and it's a tzedakah project, talked about that a lot, which are the giving of time and giving of money to help those in need. We also know that it was a little bit more difficult because we've been through COVID this last 2 years, and bar and bat mitzvahs have been postponed and pushed back, mask rules, and throughout the whole time, he was very patient and very kind and very supportive, and really took it all to heart, understanding what a wonderful life he has with wonderful parents and a wonderful sister and wonderful family, and not everybody has what he has. But we're looking at somebody who was truly dedicated to what he spoke about, his belief in God, and understanding that that means not just saying I believe in God, but showing it. And the only way you show it is by being a good human being and treating people with respect. And I think we all know from his family before him and the family before them that this is a gentleman who understands what respect means at a very young age. He's now 13, but when we were training, he was only 12, and he's really a tremendous individual, and we are so proud of you. And we couldn't be prouder, and so excited to have it, not just because it's amazing to have the family, but also because it's during COVID, and you never knew if you quite were going to be able to do it. So thank you all for coming in to celebrate with him. The congregation and so many other people are equally proud. Because we do Saturday afternoon bar mitzvahs now, we are not inviting guests to give all of the gifts because of COVID. Obviously, that may now change today, but we just passed that rule on Tuesday. So on behalf of the community, we have gifts from, I think we're missing one, we'll get that to you. We have gifts from the Brotherhood, the Sisterhood, the Congregation. We have a gift from Shalom School, which is our Sunday school, which he's been going through. We have a wonderful tzedakah box from the Federation, and I've spoken to the Federation, our president, Leslie Westmoreland, of course, Ava Locker, who's the executive director of the Shalom School, and they all say the same thing. They couldn't be more proud of you. Everybody knows you. Everybody thinks the world of you. So Mazel Tov. And again, thank you all for coming in. I know it's been difficult for many of us, but what a beautiful, beautifully led service. That was tremendous. And so we're going to invite everyone now as we're going to finish off our service. And I know there'll be plenty of hugs later. Oops, get that. Hopefully that wasn't the breakable one.
This one's from the congregation.
So what I'm going to invite everyone to do is, again, take out your prayer books as we're going to turn to page 158.
Would that be me?
More pictures available now. Wasn't he amazing? The speech was hilarious as well. We're going to turn to page 158 again. At the top of the page, please rise. And I'm going to invite up Blanche and Sarah as they're going to open the ark. Extol the Eternal One with me, and let us exalt God's presence together. In the middle of page 159.
Behold, a good doctrine has been given you. Guard it well. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast,
and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace.
It's Chaim hi, lama chasikim ba, v'tom mechea meushar, derachea darkei noam, v'chol tivotea shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu Hekedem.
The Elenu is found on page 368.
Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto God, who spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. God is our God, there is none else. Ba'anachnu porim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlakim hakadosh baruch hu.
Please be seated. bottom of page 369. On that day, the eternal shall be one, and God's name shall be one.
Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Page 374. Our thoughts now turn to those who departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, the 6 million who perished in the Shoah, and those of every race, nation, and faith whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. On this day of all days, we not only remember those whose yahrzeit comes at this time of year, we honor the memory of all of Max's relatives who have come before. Most he never met, some of them he did. But all of them have had an impact on who he is today, and we honor their memory. Does anybody else have a yahrzeit they'd like to give before we go to Kaddish? Kaddish praise is on page 375, as I invite everyone who would like to please rise. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, b'alma divrach chirutei v'amlich malchutei, B'chayachon uvyomechon uvchayachol Beit Yisrael, B'agala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudusha brechu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, tamiram v'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. Osei Shalom B'mromav, Huya Asei Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved among us as we say Amen. Please be seated. Again, mazel tov to the entire family, to all the friends, to everyone who joined us here today. We couldn't be more thrilled to have all of you. We're going to conclude our service with Adon Olam in a second. Then we're going to do Motzi and Kiddush here, the blessing of the grape juice and it is grape juice. It's grape juice here. It used to be Manischewitz, and I got to look at the wonderful face on the kids. But it got too confusing because I prefer grape juice. So they were seeing that face on me too often, so I decided we were going to change that policy. We're going to conclude with Adon Olam, so I'm going to invite everyone to take back out their prayer book and go to page 422 or to 424. I'm going to invite up Sarah, Stacy, and Jeff, and of course Max, as they're going to come up here for Adon Olam. I'm going to invite everyone to please rise, as this is how we traditionally conclude our service, by rising together. Again, a major mazel tov to this wonderful family that is adored by so many. We are so proud of you. And I'm told Max is going to lead us in Adon Olam, right? That's what I was told. Trust me, if you're worried about your voice, I'll be singing with you on a microphone, so we'll be lucky to survive that. So I want you to go on that mic over there. For anyone who knows it, please join us. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach,
Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra,
Li'et Nasa,
Le'et Nasa,
Be'etzakol,
Asai Melech Shemo Nikra
Adon Olam,
Yachare Kilo Tako, Levado Yimlok Nora Adon Olam, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hoveh, V'hu Yeh V'tifara Adon Olam. Adon Olam,
Adon Olam, Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa,
Li'et Nasa,
Be'etzakol,
Asai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'hu Echad V'ein Sheni, L'cham Shilo L'hachbira Adon Olam, Beli Reshit, Beli Tachlit, Velo ha'oz v'ha'misra Adon Olam. Adon Olam.
Adon Olam. Asher Malach.
Asher Malach.
B'terem kol.
B'terem kol Yitzir Nira.
Li'et Nasa.
Li'et Nasa
Hefzakol.
Azai
Asai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam. V'hu Eli. V'chai Go'eli.
V'tzur Chevli V'yetzara Adon Olam. V'hu Nisi Umanosli. Menat Kosi B'yom Mikra Adon Olam.
Adon Olam.
Adon Olam.
Asher Malach.
Asher Malach.
B'terem kol.
B'terem kol Yitzir Nira.
Li'et Nasa.
Li'et Nasa
Hefzakol.
Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam. V'yado
Avki Ruhi. Be'et
Sha'ira Adon Olam. Ve'im Ruchi Gaviyati Adonai li v'lo ira Adon Olam.
Adon Olam.
Adon Olam.
Asher Malach.
Asher Malach.
B'terem kol.
B'terem kol Yitzir Nira.
Li'et Nasa.
Li'et Nasa
Hefzakol.
Azai Melech Shemo Nikra.
Adon Olam.
Beautifully done. Please be seated, everyone, as we're going to do Motzi Kiddush. No, you guys stay up. We're doing Motzi Kiddush, yeah. And before we go, I've been working with Max maybe a year or so, and it wasn't until like 2 days ago that his tutor, Miss Penny, who I want to thank because she does such a tremendous job so often with so many students, just so dedicated and has got such panache, and she did such a great job with Sarah, and of course an amazing job with Max, so thank you very much. She mentioned to me that he was singing Adon Olam because usually the students don't sing that. He managed to go a whole year without letting me know to try and get out of it. I had no idea because they never sing it. We sing it, and so Penny just happened to drop a thing like, oh, he's so excited he's singing Adon Olam. And I'm like, oh, he's singing Adon Olam. Nobody told me that. So you still had to sing it.
Oh, yes, the grape juice.
I'm going to have you hold that and say a prayer into that mic. And Sarah, I'm going to have you hold this. Watch out, there's a knife in there as well. But we're going to cut it, so go sit right in there. Baruch atah.
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Say l'chaim before you drink.
L'chaim.
All right. Pass it to your family.
Oh, we all drink. That wasn't actually half bad.
L'chaim.
I want to drink the rest of it now. God
I
dang it.
forgot about COVID, but it's okay, it's a family.
I want to drink the rest of it.
It may not be right. All right, so I'll have you come in front of the mic and take off the top, and be careful for the knife in there. Just take the top off. Take that top off. Like this. There you go. That's what I mean. Yeah. That's the knife. All right. There you go. And then you guys on the microphone. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Sarah and Max and whoever else.
Ready?
Baruch
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen and Mazel Tov. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Celebrate. Hit it, Jason. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. You guys, want me to cut it for you guys? Now you can do all the hugs. Okay, so that's all the speech. People can come up and get challah if you'd like.
Or we can throw it at you.
Or you can throw it out.
If you prefer, whichever.